Welcome to the 3030 Health Podcast. The following discussion is for education and entertainment. It is not intended to diagnose or treat disease. Please do not apply any of this information without first discussing it with your doctor. Here is your host, Dr. Ruiz.
Hello everyone, super excited about this episode. My guest is Dr. Anna Cabeca. Dr. Cabeca has worked with thousands of women one-on-one to help them understand and improve their health and manage their hormones. She is committed to supporting women so that they can thrive physically, emotionally, sexually, and even spiritually as they go through the natural and inevitable life shift of menopause. Today we will be talking about her newest book, Keto Green 16, which is a comprehensive nutritional plan to staying healthy and slim at any age. I hope you enjoyed the show. Hello everyone, super excited to be here with my friend Dr. Anna Cabeca. Dr. Cabeca, how are you?
I am great, Guillermo. How are you?
I'm just here quarantined, trying to deliver some good, information to my friends and family and trying to keep up to date with everything that's going on and trying to keep myself occupied. What about you? How are you doing through these times?
Well, I've been in the middle of book launch, releasing my new book, Keto Green 16, and my daughter is homeschooling. She's in 6th grade. She's really independent worker for the most part once she got over the frustration. So, but life is going full swing. I have all my daughters back in the house. Two of them were living elsewhere. So everyone is back in and it's good. We are just having great bonding times, honestly, and keeping each other in check and healthy.
And that's what we can do right now, physically distanced, but not socially distanced, and trying to, make life as normal as possible while we recover from this. And we will. Yes.
Absolutely. And the thing is, this is one thing that I was recently writing and journaling about is not 6 months, 9 months, 5 years from now, how do I want to look back on this time? How will we look back on this as a family? And how do we want to come out of this? And so we kind of did this little journaling exercise to talk about that. Like, how do we want to have seen how we've used this time? So a little forward thinking projection. I think it put us all on the same page. All right, so we're going to get up at 6:30, 7 a.m. Well, it was supposed to be 6:30, but today it was 7 a.m. and do some physical activity together before our days get started because we're all working at home and that's very sedentary, right?
Yeah, looking at my Apple Watch, my steps have dramatically reduced, so I have to actually try to keep up with my, with my daily activity. But you know what? It just like every single guest in my show, I want to ask you, what's your hero story? How do you end up in this health sphere? How do you go from, looking at health in the way that your institution educated you to a more sophisticated way of looking at it, and now you're here talking to me.
Well, thank you for that. But the truth is that it's been part of being a witness in seeing the lives of people I care about struggle, including my mom, who, when I was 16, she was 52, undergoing heart surgery so that's like at a young age, and recognizing that the research that her medical care was based on studies in men. And so that made me a very strong women's health advocate from that point on. And I did research before I went to med school, and then went to osteopathic medical school for a more holistic approach, and then trained in gynecology and obstetrics in women's health. And then at age 39, I had my own personal struggle. Post-traumatically, we had suffered a significant trauma and loss in our lives. And I was then diagnosed with early menopause and infertility through cycle after cycle of infertility meds. Imagine that while helping other people get pregnant, I couldn't get pregnant. And so my doctor's bag was empty. And at that point, it took me on a journey around the world looking for answers. And that led me to dig deep into functional medicine and holistic practice and integrative care. So my mess is my message. So as I learned and I healed my body, I reversed my early menopause. I became pregnant naturally and conceived a healthy baby girl at age 41.
Wow.
And so I'm now 53 with a 12-year-old. And so I have to keep my hormones healthy. And I started integrating these skills into my practice. And what I recognized very quickly is where, as I started getting better at fine-tuning hormones and using additional like supplements and detox, and created very similar to my Keto Green Way, an earlier version of my detox plan for clients. And I went from doing 2 to 3 surgeries a week to needing to do 2 to 3 major surgeries per year. A huge difference in care. Our bodies are amazing. They are miracles, and they have been designed to heal themselves. And I've seen this now over and over again in thousands of women as well as men, actually.
That is so true what you just said. That our bodies are amazing. That our bodies want homeostasis. Our bodies don't want to be sick. And it seems that in the current conventional model, it's always like, let's wait until we can give you your statin. You're just vigilant over those numbers on that paper until you hit, you're 201 on your total cholesterol. It's time to give you a statin. Watch and wait, and it's just very reactionary. It just baffles me that we have this sick healthcare system that we are trying to outsmart physiology. And we're trying to outsmart physiology by putting, different drugs or different, even surgeries, to our bodies, doing things like, your back hurts, you must wear orthotics. And then if those don't work, then we're going to do back surgery where, if you transition to a minimalistic shoe, maybe if you did a little bit more exercise, maybe if you did a little bit of stretching and yoga, maybe that would go away. But we are so reactionary. And then one thing that really bothers me is every once in a while when I hear someone say, well, what you eat doesn't matter. And that is just baffling.
Yes, it is baffling. And I think even now, with the change of events that it'll be hard pressed to find a physician not recommending vitamins right now, right? And they used to say, oh no, now I'm sure they're taking them themselves. And it's true. We had a saying at Emory University in the OR, actually. It was this: your eyes don't see what your mind don't know. Very simple Southern saying there. Your eyes don't see what your mind don't know. Until your eyes are open to it, either personally or through someone you love, then we don't see it. We spend in our medical system, we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars getting this education that has sadly to a large part been dictated by insurance companies, what they'll cover, what they won't, and pharmaceutical companies, what they'll donate, what they won't. And that's been a challenge. And it certainly is a challenge too, as a physician, as you yourself know, going outside the box in our current practice of medicine. And so for me, through my journey and through my messes, it's been just imperative that I get in each person's hands the right information, the right steps they can take to create a resilient, strong, healthy body. And over 90% is resolved. And that's what I saw in my clinical practice. Over 90% is resolved based on the individual's diet and lifestyles action that they take, how they nourish their body, mind, and spirit, and really an integrative, holistic approach. And the reason I say 90% is because, I'm still a kind of proud physician and I want to keep 10% for myself. Like, you still need me for 10%, right?
Back in the day when I was listening to podcasts, before I went to naturopathic medical school, the person that I wanted to see was that 10%, like, because I knew that if you change your lifestyle, I knew that if you change your diet, I knew if you had good social connections and a good spiritual practice and all of those things, 90% of the people are going to get better. But that 10% that might have a hormonal problem, that 10% that are already in type 2 diabetes, that are, having PCOS, or, and that 10% is the one that I want to help. The ones that are dedicated to already doing the diet, to doing the exercise, and to doing all that stuff, and they still haven't seen the results that the 90% get. But, this is an excellent segue to ask you, it's really funny, work at a naturopathic and endocrinology practice, and we see a lot of people with thyroid disease, and every once in a while, we'll have a wife that says, I tried the keto diet and my husband lost 20 pounds in 3 weeks, and I either gained weight or I'm still stuck at the same weight. Why is that? Why is the keto approach or any diet approach always a little bit different with women than it is with guys?
And it's not fair. Women listening are just like, it's just not fair.
It's like hormones, like when a guy, has like hypogonadism, and they have low testosterone, you just give a little testosterone, you don't go too high. You make sure the liver is clearing perfectly. You're good. They feel better and everything. They lean out, With women, oh my goodness, you have to balance progesterone, estrogen. There's 3 types of estrogen, and then also testosterone. So it's a very much more complicated organism,
And we are gifted this way. We absolutely are gifted this way with cycling hormones that indicate a fertile body and a strong body. And I think the difference is, you're absolutely right. Men's hormonal focus is really much simpler than women. And men have 10 times as much testosterone, so they will burn more calories. They tend to lose weight faster with less fine tuning on a keto diet. But for the long run, it's really important and to have, especially for women, to go keto. But I always say there's a way to go keto dirty, but we need to be keto clean, which is keto green. So my mantra is about getting keto green the very healthiest way possible, and checking your body's vital signs. So you're testing and figuring out what's working for you and what's not. The primary vital sign I talk about is urine pH testing. Urine pH testing is so important. There's so many articles on it, good research on it, showing that a more alkaline urine pH is indicative of stronger bones, healthier brain, healthier breast, less risk of cancer, better blood sugar. So all of these good things associated with a more alkaline urine pH. So also when we're going keto, we tend to become really acidic. Now, Guillermo, I discovered this as part of my own journey. So I mentioned that I reversed my menopause and infertility at age 39. And then at age 48, I started cycling back down again. I was having irregular, non-existent cycles, and I was experiencing troublesome brain fog and irritability, and I just didn't like who I was. I was over, just on edge. And then, almost what's worse is that basically overnight, it seemed like I gained 20 pounds without doing anything different. And you've heard this, and I heard this. My clients would come in this perimenopausal stage and say, Dr. Anna, I'm gaining 5, 10, 20 pounds and I'm not doing anything different. And as, again, a naive doctor, I'd think, really, how is that possible, right? But then it happened to me. Without changing a single habit, I gained basically 20 pounds, what felt like overnight within seemed like a few weeks. And that was frightening because I'd been well over 240 pounds and kept 80 pounds off. And, it stayed at my weight for, pretty stable over a decade. And that was terrifying because you think, oh my God, when will that weight come back on? When will it stop? Will I be 300 pounds before I hit a plateau, right? And so that was what was scary for me. And that's when I started going keto. But I found out I quickly hit a wall, and I felt more irritable, kind of not in my body. I call it going keto crazy. I was just on edge. And that led me to ask why? What's happening to my physiology that I'm experiencing this? And so I started checking my urine pH, and I was as acidic as the urine pH paper would read. And so that was eye-opening. That was like a huge aha moment. That made me realize, no wonder I'm not feeling good. So I worked to get more alkaline with the dark leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables. I tripled my dose of my Mighty Maca supplement. I was taking 2 to 3 scoops a day of Mighty Maca Plus, and adding, more greens and herbs into my diet. And I was checking my urine pH regularly. And what I recognized, I started to get more alkaline, more alkaline, more alkaline. And the beauty of this story is that the mornings I would go for a walk outside, or I would do my gratitude journaling, I was more easily alkaline all day, because stress has an acidifying effect on your urine pH. You could be doing everything right and be stressed and be damaging your body.
So the goal is to maintain a lower carbohydrate diet with high amounts of leafy greens and, cruciferous vegetables and, those. Oh, that's very interesting. When you're talking keto, can you give us like a quick history or a quick differentiation between, all these different diets that there's been? What's the difference between going keto green versus, a paleo approach, maybe like an Atkins, maybe like a conventional keto, just for anyone out there that, that's confused, because how many times have you heard people having confusion about those different approaches?
Yeah, I really think, for example, paleo versus keto. Paleo is grain-free and keto is predominantly grain-free, but we don't omit them. We're not omitting any food. We're just restricting the carb foods and increasing healthy fats and healthy protein. In paleo, it's just eliminating grains predominantly with really no proportions. In keto green, we encourage the alkalinizing vegetables, and there's a few digestive fruits that I recommend, and low carb fruits as well. In my keto green way, it is very healthy keto eating with good quality protein. In fact, I have a keto calculator that is available for people to look at what a day in your life being keto green would look like. And it's a real healthy, substantial assessment, which is really nice. So the kind of the differences when we're looking at, keto versus paleo versus keto green, it's those simple differences. So it's all good ancestral eating styles, but what I encourage clients to do is to explore and to discern what works best for you, and test, don't guess. That's where we get wrong. We follow a plan and we're like, oh, well, this is what the plan says, but I'm always check your urine pH, watch your weight, look at your vitals, if you've had your blood pressure checked or cholesterol or key lab test, you want to follow over time and see actually how you do. Because certain things, you can be eating all this amazing healthy food and have an allergy, a food sensitivity to one of the foods that you love, which is not atypical. We see that all the time. For example, I'm dairy sensitive. I can't have any dairy. So my keto green eating is gluten-free, dairy-free. It's a very clean eating plan. And that's what I created because that's what I do. And I'm sharing what's worked for me and what's worked for clients that I've helped.
And that's what we've learned, over the years, back when I started in this crazy world of health and nutrition, in 2008, 2009, the big message was calories don't matter, or just avoid sugar, and that's it. That's all you need to do. And as evidence comes out, then you start noticing that people are, calories don't matter, but, you have to mind your macros. And then, you continue, and then all of a sudden you're like back at, oh, calories do matter. And now, what we see is that when you have a well-structured approach, you notice that, yeah, you take into consideration everything. You take into consideration, the amount of calories you're consuming. You take into consideration the macronutrient composition of your plate. You take into consideration quality of food, because that's another thing that happens. You can do keto eating nothing but bacon and cheese, and you'll lose weight because you're restricting a lot of foods, and you're lower in the total carbohydrate composition of your plate, but you're gonna feel like shit. So the idea is to have this approach that is enjoyable, that is effective, and that is giving you results.
Absolutely. And that is tailored to you, designed by you for you ultimately, right? So that it works. And there are certain things we need, especially during months of menstruation and in the perimenopause, menopausal transition, as well as postmenopause. I said that keto is mandatory for women, especially in the peri and postmenopause, because one thing, the concept of brain fog, I mean, women have a higher risk of Alzheimer's than men. 2.6 times women are more likely to have Alzheimer's than men. So that's a significant shift. That's a significant result. And we just started imaging women's brains to really look into this. But what's fascinating is that the brain's ability to use glucose for fuel is estrogen dependent. And as our hormones start to decline, we get this brain fog. And I would really say it's as a result, mostly as progesterone is the mother hormone, that as progesterone starts declining in our mid to late 30s, we start experiencing this shift. And it's almost like a brain starvation or suffocation. And what we know, though, is that ketones, the use of ketones for fuel is not hormone dependent. And that's why when I went keto green amidst all my brain fog, and I felt like I was losing my memory, which was crazy because I had a good memory, and I regained it all going keto green. That was just such clarity and openness, and, my attention and focus was so much better. So all of that, taking that into consideration, and I would say gas, for the brain, as far as fuel, think of glucose to gasoline and think of ketones to jet fuel, that kind of comparison. And that's why really we need to do it. And plus, to lower inflammation, the more we get keto green, the better control we have over cortisol, as well as becoming more insulin sensitive.
For any of my listeners, that have tried keto in the past, and they they were underwhelmed with the results, or they didn't work for them, what are some of the pitfalls that you see in a traditional ketogenic diet that you have uncovered and kind of like elucidated with your approach?
Yeah, because I've worked with so many women that were just following a just conceptual keto plan, and they were hitting a wall or weren't getting results or didn't feel good, many reasons that they found my work and started working with me. But basically what I saw them doing is just eating not enough alkalinizing foods, getting too acidic and not checking. And the other thing too, not eating enough healthy fats or eating too much fats. That's why this keto calculator is really good. I can give you that quick link to that. dranna.com/keto calc. So dranna.com/keto, KETOCALC, keto calc. And you get a day in the life, because often we're not getting enough protein. And I love Dr. Gabrielle Lyons always says that you're not over fat, you're under muscled.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so true, right? And we need good quality protein too. But if we get too much, then we're kicked out of ketosis. It is a fine tuning. And again, that's why we have to test urine pH, test ketones, and make sure that we're getting that state of the combination, which you'll see like in my keto green community. I just love it when they're keto green. So that really does make a difference.
And that's something that we see a lot, because it is a problem to have too little protein in your diet, because protein is your building block for your muscle, and muscle is like currency. It's what's going to keep you from having osteopenia in the future, because the amount of muscle mass is a direct reflection on the amount of strength and the amount of stress that you've put on your bones. And the stronger your bones, the less likely you're going to have osteopenia. Same with sarcopenia. If I end up in a car accident, or if I end up with cancer, or if I end up, even with this COVID-19 infection, chances are that the more lean mass that you have, the more robust that you are, the better you're going to end up afterwards. And that is so important. It's not just to look good naked, it's good currency for your future.
It's resilience. It's creating a body that's resilient. And we know that the more insulin sensitive we are, the better glycemic control we have, the less risk we are for the conditions that are more risky for other diseases, such as, for example, diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, cancer, right? The more insulin sensitive we can become, and the better management of cortisol is key. One thing that's really important, especially for women menstruating during this time, understanding that the hormone cortisol depletes when we are stressed. We make cortisol from progesterone, this neuroprotective, happy hormone of relaxation and deep sleep, as well as pro-gestation, pro-pregnancy, right, to support pregnancy. And when this is declining in times of stress, we're moodier, we're more irritable, we have more PMS, we have more endometriosis pain, etc. Breast tenderness, bloating, weight gain, brain fog, all of the PMS symptoms that we don't want to think about. And so, but this is a function of shifting to a more estrogen dominant, not having enough progesterone on board, because we say cortisol steals it, right? The cortisol steal. And that creates these physiologic changes. So supporting your adrenals, supporting your body's natural detoxification system, creating a healthy nutrition and lifestyle regimen that really works for you is game changing, and especially to help with mood. And I always tell clients, if you only hate your husband 2 weeks out of the month, it's likely your hormones, not so much your husband.
Let's talk a little bit about hormones and your diet. How does having excess glucose affect your cycle?
Yeah, so with my keto green approach, what we've seen, actually, I'll share with you the study, and we've been running preclinical trials on the Keto Green 16, on my new books plan that's coming out. I was studying menopausal women as well. But one thing that we saw very quickly in clients that have been following our Keto Green way, we see a decrease in hemoglobin A1C, which is really significant. And so what we institute with Keto Green, my Keto Green way, is intermittent fasting. So with Keto Green 16, we push for a 16-hour intermittent fast. And we really focus on no more snacking. So we're not eating continuously. We're pulsatile eating, right? So our body has a chance for glucose to go up and insulin to go up and then come back down. When women have been told to snack, it really is destructive to our hormones. It can be because, we get this peak and valley and in glucose, and then insulin's always going up. But with keto eating, because we are low carb, if we need a snack and we're eating a snack like nuts or seeds, which is pretty perfect, or some greens of some kind, then we won't see those spikes, but we'll increase our insulin sensitivity. So in 1 month, we saw a client's hemoglobin A1C go from 6.0, which is pre-diabetes, to 5.4. Now our target is below 5.4, below 5.3. Actually, I like to see them around 5. And at 1.2, my hemoglobin A1C was 5.7. It now runs at 4.9. So that is a huge difference for everyone listening. Every point above 5.3 that our hemoglobin A1C is exponentially increases your risk for Alzheimer's or dementia. So we've got to get that number down. And sadly, the natural approach is, as physicians, is that you just watch the hemoglobin A1C, and you can tell, your patients, okay, well, eat better, exercise more, all the standard comments, but just watching that hemoglobin A1C go up until they get to the classification of prediabetes or diabetes, and then that's when management steps in. But we can see that happening over time, and hemoglobin A1C is one of those markers I think everyone should test.
Do you do any work with fasting insulin?
Yes, with fasting insulin, looking at baseline glucose and fasting insulin. But what I really find is important is postprandial glucose to insulin. So that can really make a difference. And in fact, one thing that I've done for myself in creating the menus and recipes in Keto Green 16, I've been wearing the Libre Freestyle, the 24-hour, 14-day blood sugar monitor. So just totally monitoring to confirm that the recipes are really blood sugar stabilizing, which has been so insightful wearing this continuous glucose monitor. I really recommend it for anyone who loves self-discovery. Check urine pH, check ketones, get one of these monitors, check your markers and discern, okay, this, I'm seeing this work. I'm seeing these results. In that clinical study that we did, we saw in 16 days over a 50% reduction in symptom scores. And that's how powerful, like the right nourishment to our body, but also because we're checking, right, urine pH, and we're going to manage stress now. And our thoughts about stress, right, our physical stress, our thoughts, emotional stress, relational stress, we're going to manage that because we can see that acidify our urine, and we start controlling that, and we're really putting our body into balance very, very quickly. And that's what's so exciting.
Have you noticed anyone, that goes into a lower carbohydrate approach having trouble with their thyroid?
I have not seen that. I know that there's questions about whether keto creates hypothyroidism or not, but I have not seen that honestly at all. And I've monitored many clients' thyroid, including my own. And initially with me too, I was able to wean off completely thyroid meds. So I don't understand where that statement comes from. As well, I've checked clients' TSH, free T4, free T3, reverse T3, and I've seen improvements in thyroid function plus an improvement in weight. And again, all the symptom scores that we see, we can, and an improvement in body temperature. I have clients measure their basal body temperature. And this one client who's been following me now for 3 years, her basal body temperature used to be 94.6, 95. She was really struggling. And now she runs 97, 98, her metabolism. And this is a 67-year-old woman. So we can see these shifts in our energy that we can create by really simple lifestyle and nutritional modifications that work for us instead of against us.
I think the belief, is that, you do need a little bit of insulin to convert T4 into T3, but it's not like you're taking away the insulin. You're just making your pancreas more efficient. And I work with clients, and depending on the health status and, depending on the reason they're in to see me, I might, do a lower carbohydrate diet, paleo style approach. I might do, AIP. It depends. It's always in flux. But in the end, what we want to see is tons of leafy greens, tons of vegetables, clean protein, good quality foods, that are going to help you get into that homeostasis, that are going to help you get into that, place where your body's happy and it's functioning better.
Yeah, well, and also back to your point about insulin, with my Keto Green approach, I'm all about balance and feasting. We have to often, allow our body to feast because that creates metabolic flexibility. That's what's really, really important, and that we continue to have metabolic flexibility and enjoy ourselves, enjoy life, enjoy others as well. And we certainly having that bump in and out of ketosis, I think is really, really important too, especially again for women to have that metabolic flexibility. That does make a difference.
Do you do anything with electrolytes?
Not specifically. In my plan, I do recommend my product, which is Mighty Maca Plus, which is a combination of over 30 superfoods. And that when they wake up in the morning, they drink, a scoop of the Mighty Maca Plus with about 4 ounces of water and add in a teaspoon to a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar if they want that extra, if they need help getting more alkaline. and energized. And typically, because that's so detoxifying and cleansing, that's really beneficial. And sometimes I'll also have clients just take some sparkling water, add a half teaspoon of Himalayan sea salt, and maybe a squirt of lime or lemon, and kind of make a mocktail with that, so that they can again get some additional minerals from salt. But I know sometimes when clients are having more of the keto flu, getting those electrolytes in, absolutely. But the way I really try to focus on my plan is that we're getting alkaline first, then bumping into ketosis. And I really don't have that complaint about keto flu. So that works well. When we're doing some extended fasting, then I think definitely there's such a good place for trisalts or mineral salts too, if needed.
Super awesome information. When is that? How can people get a hold of the book? How can people get a hold of you? What's your website once again?
Thank you. Easy. dranna.com, like Dranna, DRANNA.com. And there's an order page on my website to show you everywhere the books are sold. Of course, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. But also, I'm encouraging everyone right now to go to your local bookstore, order from your local bookstore online, Indie Books, whenever possible, to support our bookstores as much as we can, our local bookstores. And the book bonuses, once you purchase, just enter your receipt number into the book bonus tab, and you'll be able to get extra bonuses, which is including a quick start guide, my feast recipes, which we made for Easter, the carrot cake and the chocolate mousse, all keto, right? Very low carb and dairy free, because I'm dairy free. So delicious recipes in there. And my whole family enjoyed them immensely. And additional roadmap, which is beautiful. In a glance, you can see the keto rich foods that are, the keto green foods that are alkalinizing and lowest carbohydrate. So you can really target your menu planning and shopping. And in Keto Green 16, I use 16 key ingredients. And again, I played with these menus for quite a while to make sure that I incorporated everything to support our microbiome, our gut health, right? We want to keep a healthy gut, and supporting hormone balance. So a 16-day plan, 16 key food types, and working on that 16-hour intermittent fasting and all the reasons to do so. Plus, I included a men's chapter in this book, as well as supplements I recommend, and right along lines with yours.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule, especially with all the craziness that we're going through. And thank you for helping, because I am a big believer in this, macronutrient approach to diet. I feel better when I do a fast. I do a 24-hour fast once a week. I tend to skew towards a lower carbohydrate diet naturally. And it's worked for me for so long, and it's frustrating when you have, women, come in and say, I tried that. It didn't really work for me. Bias is a very crazy thing, because, you think, well, it worked for me. Why wouldn't it work for you? So thank you for giving us a little bit more insight into why this stuff might affect women differently, and how to customize a plan to help everyone. Because in the end, that's what we want. We want health for everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ruiz, for having me.
No problem. I'll talk to you soon.
I look forward to it. Thank you.